Tebow Teals is number 1. Mark is in number 2. CJ Yukon in number 3. Lewis finally sold a bit of finger. Wow, Lewis, I'm writing that down. Good for you. I think your timing's perfect, Lewis. Looking good, Lewis. Feeling good, Billy Ray. All right, let me write that down. I have to start a whole new, page. On a long, lonely highway. Um, One 50062. The excellent, Lewis. That's excellent. Hey, Mark, how have you been? What's wrong with my eyesight? Very hard to read. CJ Yukon, another hero. Hey, Clay. You look well and happy. Hair looks nice. I need a haircut. That's what I need is a haircut. I need a shave and a haircut. 2 bits. All right. Railtown, right now, we are at 11,282,689 shares. Because of you are 8.1% of the implied outstanding shares. Almost 200 people. 11,282,000 shares. Pretty darn good, as far as I can tell. All right. I didn't really, I got to sign in and give you some prices, I guess. I didn't really prepare a lot. I have a little bit, but I didn't prepare a lot because I've trying to get some other things done. And my, I think the medicine's been having weird effects on me. But anyway, let's go. I'll just give you the first 5 stocks that show up on. Wonder what it is. Maybe I need to wear reading glasses all of a sudden. Weird. Railtown is up. It's 52 cents. I didn't think that they could keep it down, but on the other hand, I figured by the time they'll try to get it in the red. But it's basically flat. The bid is 51.29, but the bid actually was 52 for quite a while. They have 97,000 shares as the volume, and 4,017 shares went off at 52 cents. So I guess they just punished the bid. I'm not exactly sure why someone is selling 4,000 shares. To my opinion, it's not real stock. So you're 51.28 to 52.66. MTEN is up 72 cents at 11.75. Be careful of these stocks. I'm not picking on MTN specifically, but what they need that ebb and flow. They need you getting the stock up, then they can sell it down. You get it up, they sell it down. Doesn't mean one of these won't take off, but that's the overall pattern on stock after stock after stock after stock. And you know, I don't know. If you don't see it, I don't know what to tell you, but it's over and over again. Finger is down 6 cents at 142. NRGV is up a penny and a half at 147.5. This stock, Quantum, QNTM, to me it behaves a lot like GME. They run it up on a nice slope and then they bring it down. I wouldn't be surprised if they did a deal somewhere. I don't know why my nose is itching. The gentleman that came on here suggesting that you buy MLSS, I think he's innocent. I don't think he works with the shorts. That stock is down 0.0363 to 56 cents. I wouldn't touch any of these, but I'm just trying to go through. Somebody came on here and told you to buy Aware, AWRE. That's down 5 cents. Maybe it still makes sense, but what are you going to do? Every time somebody says buy a stock, you buy it? I know, I hear it. Well, you're telling us to buy this one. Well, I think I've tried to put everything I can possibly think of into evidence. Of course, evidence, it's not like it's in a courtroom or anything, but I'm doing the best I can to show you my due diligence and my thoughts. Nixie is down 10 cents at 175. It's another one of those. They get it going up yesterday. They can quickly take, just to give you an example, on Nixie today, the volume's 158,000. Let's say some Joe out there, some Jake or some Jason or some Jackson or some, I don't know what his name would be. He got off 50,000 shares. I'm making it up, but there's a volume's 158,000 today. But what if he sold at 50,000 shares at 185 this morning on average price? Right now, if he covers it at the price 175, and I'm not saying there's anybody that did that, that's 10 cents on 50,000 shares. That's their daily nut. They're ready to come in tomorrow and do it again. And this is the path of least resistance. You got a bunch of retail driving a stock up because they heard about it on Twitter, and they come in and sell it down. And it doesn't mean that the stock won't go up, and it doesn't mean long term. I don't know. Tired of even hearing all these stories. But you just got to be aware that as they go green during the day or overnight or in the morning, there's these players out there that are just playing for 10 cents, 15 cents, 20 cents. I was making some phone calls, and it came on 2 o'clock. I've been, waiting for calls back and all that. And anyway, that was a callback, but I'm here doing this for you. Um, uh, anyway, sorry for the interruption. So my point is, just be careful of these. You don't have to chase them usually. Um, there's different kinds of. There's the ones that are trying to steal the entire market cap, like Aubrey Advisors clients, and they do that over a pre-planned, calculated year and a half, 2 years. They get CEOs who comply with them, and they get a guy like named Greenberg out of Connecticut to buy up the carcass and merge it with another company that's going to need trouble. And there's that kind of group. Then there's the guys like I just described, that they're just hot hands during the day. And if they can make $500 a grand a day, they're heroes. If they can make $5 grand, wow, close shop early. Let's go buy some oysters and shots of tequila. So, and then there's sort of the middle ground where some guys will establish short positions. They have a little longer time frame, and they may work with an investment bank, and they try to, you've seen it. They try to get the company to sign a toxic financing, and they cross stock, they lock that in, or there's so many iterations, but the bottom line is you can't win. You can't win. I can't win. You're counting on news from a guy. Pick the guy. I'm not picking on anyone. You pick the guy who's giving you the news, who's getting it from somebody, and they're trying to manipulate and massage the situation. And this time, Wall Street's going to buy in the shares. That's not real information. It's a lot different than when you're on a lively desk. I mean, I'm not trying. I don't think the numbers even compare to the numbers now. But I was President's Club and highly sought after and prospected and all that. People tried to hire me away. Anyway, one of the most exciting things for me was to go into a firm's trading desk. And I spent a lot of time visiting. I never was on a trading desk with a phone and the bank of computers. But when you're in that room, the one that impressed me the most was up in New York City, and it was the whole floor. And you walk in, and the CEO actually was based out of Boston, but he had an office there. And I think he was who was showing me around. It might have been one of his lieutenants, another good guy. But they weren't ego. They didn't have ego. They had offices right on not in the pit, but right on the side. And so you'd be there and you'd watch it. It was exciting. But the buzz, the information, the phones ringing, the girls walking, one or two maybe walking in with the walk of shame, the cocky young guys coming in from having their shoes shined, or a game of racquetball or whatever. But the whole floor was buzzing and phones ringing and information and screens and yelling, "Hey, we got the 10,000 over here." And that's information. And with that kind of information, you can pick off a stock. You can, as it's been described to you, you can run into the men's room, call your buddy and say, Blue Star likes, Red Diamond, and get it make money that way. But when you're counting on people who are no longer just plugged into Wall Street, and very few of us are anymore. Even your broker is not plugged in. She or he simply gathers your assets, puts it in an ETF, puts it in a fund, puts it in a retirement account. You pay that chick 1.5 to 3 points just to manage your money. And as long as she's got, $1 billion under management, she's a wealthy person. But they don't know stocks. They don't hear the hot stories. They sort of roll in a few guys. There might be a guy sitting there with his assistant that he's dated forever, even though he's married and she's married, and they have this illicit affair everyone knows about. But one's Catholic and the other is stuck in his lonesome marriage, and so they're always there. They're always there. They go to dinner together, lunch together, and he's always there, always ready on the phone. Other guys travel. They're take a long lunch. They come in. They organize their next presentation, or some guys are very active. You see all kinds. But what you don't see is information flow. You don't see them talking about, hey, did you see Energy Vault? Energy Vault, golly, they've got a way of storing energy. No one else ever thought of that. How much of the market do they have? Well, less than 1%. But man, they're going to be big. You don't see any of that. You don't see any of that. You don't get wind of a buy-in. You don't notice the guy in the corner office that suddenly is sweating bullets and barely able to talk because Ralph just came in and told him, we're buying you in at 2:00 so that you can go tell somebody else that, hey, I heard in our office there's going to be 15 million shares of Energy Vault bought in. You don't get any of that anymore. And it's preposterous if you think you do. What you get is you get some guys who have a lot of money, or used to, who think if they can manipulate or manage a situation, they can make a lot of money. But they may have gotten lucky, as I could have when I was in London for months. It was sitting there. I bought 300,000 shares of this stock, 75 grand. It's now 30,000 shares. And when I get this changed in, it'll be 7,500 shares. It trades on the New York Stock Exchange. And my ownership of the underlying silver has been reduced and reduced. But I put 75 grand in. It's worth between 25 and 30 grand. It's worth $28,000 right now. And I've had it for a decade. I easily could have put that exact same money or part of it in Bitcoin. But it would, if I had done it, it'd be because I thought, hell, I'll do it. It would have been plunking money down, but I wouldn't be sitting here. Well, you have a guy that maybe made money that way, and he attracts some other friends that make money that way. And then they think because they have money, they're going to somehow trade stocks better than you do. They don't. They're listening to the same information you are. It's the same crap information, meaningless information. So they'll have a guy, he knows what he's doing. He connects the dots. He can give advice. Hey, why don't we find a stock like GiveBucks? Well, with GiveBucks, all we got to do is get that. We'll have somebody from Goldman Sachs talk about it, and then we'll get 2 or 3 guys to say they've heard something, and maybe we'll give them a little bit of reward for helping us out. But then what we'll do is we'll get a few people to own more than the reported short, and we'll get a guy out of I don't know where, but he's going to sell 200 million. Do you hear that? $250 million, $212 million worth of crypto, and he's going to put it in GiveBucks. And then a property portfolio, and then and somehow the guys at GiveBucks, they have the genius. It's not like this guy could just invest in the property portfolio directly and get income. But no, they have an app that 20 stores in America use. I'm being facetious, but it's not very many. And we'll take it to the Middle East. Look, I've been in the Middle East for years and years and years trying to do business. It's a great place to do business. It's a great place to do business, and I love it there. But you've got to get into the decision maker who decides, all right, let's do it. The Pakistanis, the Indians, I don't know. I don't remember ever seeing a Filipino, but they're there to help. You're talking to them. They're nice. You're not getting the deal done. You're not getting the deal done. That main guy sends you to lunch with someone else. You're not getting the deal done. And if they finally sign you up, they put you on the shelf with the other companies they signed up, and they go on vacation, or they go about their life. So it's a tricky place to do business. But the app would work in the Middle East, and it's going to do all this, and the money coming in, and there's the short. Well, what happened to GiveBucks? You don't have to pick on anybody. They just don't have good information. They're trying to manipulate, make something happen, and the premise is that Wall Street will buy in the undelivered shares. Have you ever seen it happen? Ever? Well, it was happening with GME and AMC. Yeah, maybe that's what was happening. But it also could be that those, not so much the stocks maybe, but some of the funds that were in it, someone was going to teach them a lesson, and the buying just built up. It could be the COVID checks. I don't know. It could be that all the retail around the world started buying it, and briefly those stocks go up, but they capped them off. And most of you didn't sell. I didn't own them. But I know in the stocks that I thought had a chance at squeezing, Finger, GTI, and the other one, I didn't sell. Because we start believing, oh, that's what's happening. Yeah, but the shorts, as those go up, the shorts are disciplined. And there's 2 or 3 or 4 varieties of those shorts. It's not just one decision maker. It's different kinds of them. And they sell into it. And as it goes higher, they sell more. As it goes higher, it sells more. And finally, the balloon is popped and it comes down. And they mostly make their money back. But they'll find a compliant CEO like the Cohen guy, and they'll bring him in. GME had no cash. Now it's got $11 a share in cash. How do they do it? They run it up, bring it down. Run it up, bring it down. Run it up, bring it down. And they got a deal done. And what? Cohen's a genius? No, he's just willing to work with the criminals on Wall Street. But how do you make money in it? Well, if you're disciplined, you get into GME every time it pulls back, and you won't get the bottom, and you wait till Roaring Kitty comes on and mumbles and giggles and shows his broken arm, and you sell. But it's hard to do because the whole your emotions take over, and you think, finally I caught one, and you don't catch it. Anyway, it's the same story over and over and over and over and over again. And at some point, you have to realize these guys aren't getting good information. They have good instincts, one of them in particular, good instincts, but they're no longer on that trading desk filled with 200-300 people, 400 people, just pouring phone lines everywhere, everybody calling in, money in motion, activity, hubbub, buzz, buzz, buzz. One guy's sleeping with his secretary, and the secretary's married to the guy in compliance, and information goes everywhere. It's all in a concentrated place. It's not happening like that anymore. So anyway, let's look how Railtown's doing. Railtown is slightly green. Well, the bid's 52 cents. Not very many shares, 1,073 bid. My guess is that's a communication. That 73 is probably a communication. They have a lot of stock offered at 52.2. It's all fake. It's all fake. They have 23.5, 73.5. And then another, it's not moving quickly right now. 73.5 at 52.66. They just left 73.5 at 52.58, 73.5 at 52.49. They're just trying to make you think there's stock for sale. There isn't. It's like Ham used to say, it's the same pattern, but what I'm flipping it on its head. I'm flipping it on its head and telling you that the pattern, we can't beat the pattern. Here we can. With Railtown, we can beat the pattern. And they're going to be very nervous. Very nervous. Let me show you a chart on Railtown. My charting is so well, there's a lot of comments. So I better go through the comments, because if I go to the media, sometimes I come back and the comments are gone. So let's just go down them. Tebow, number one, how are you? Mark, where's that great puppy dog, Sheriff? Oh my gosh, he's big. CJ, Yukon, good afternoon to you. Lewis, I'm proud of you. That's great. Now on. So you lost 250 and you have 150. So that's a lot of money to lose, and I know it. My number's bigger than that, just so you know. I mean, I'm not trying to brag or anything or compare. I just want you to know I'm not just saying I understand it. I do understand it. So you have a good position in Railtown. At 50 cents. So how much would the stock have to go up for you to break even? 250,000 divided by 150,000. So it'd have to go up $1.66 to break even. Add the 50 cents where it is, or call it 52 cents. So we would need a target of $2.15. No, $2. It's weird. My eyesight's bad. I don't know what's going on. $2.18 is what we need for you to break even, Lewis. I have two comments on that. One, I think this stock could be $2.18 next week. Of course, it could take next month too. I mean, but I think you're going to make back that that 250 number here in Railtown. So I really commend you, and I also think that by acting, you've done the right thing. I know it takes, you have to rip away some of the illusion, and I know there's a risk. What if finger goes up in the next 60 days? But I think you're going to find that your whole outlook's going to change as Railtown goes up. That's, of course, a prediction, not a promise. Now, at $2, $2.18, my second point is you might be willing to say, phew, and it's up to you, of course. But I wouldn't do that. I think it'll go $2 range might be the point that Railtown kind of stutters a little bit. Why? On the retail side, any stock under $5, basically there's a ban on registered reps soliciting orders for you to buy it on the retail side. On the institutional side, whether it's $5, $7, $10, there's usually a lower price level where there's restrictions on adding it to their portfolio. So we don't know with Railtown in Canada in particular, also with smaller funds like family offices, private equity, mutual funds that might dedicate themselves, and I think they're out there, to AI. We don't know where they can come in. I think there will be some funds that can come in at $1, $2, $3, $4, $5, but it might be a more stuttery climb up those stairs. Ironically, Lewis, when it gets to $5 or $6, that'll cross a threshold. Now, again, I don't know that exact number. It might be $7, might be $10, but the first place I would look at it for it is at the $5 range. And you might be surprised that a stock that maybe took 2-3 weeks to go from $1 to $3, $4, $5, you might be surprised once it hits 5 or 6, it could go to 8 or 9 or 10 in a morning. And you go, that doesn't make any sense to me. It'll be, if it happens that way, it'll be because pools of money which are precluded for buying a stock under $5 all of a sudden can step up. I think, Lewis, if you I'm trying to think of what time frame to put on it. But I'd say if you can wait 6 to 9 months, you very, very well could see your account if you hold on. And I'm not a diamond hands person, but I also am really being very hard on, just don't be the hot money. Stop listening to all that stuff. But I actually think, and I'll try to make a case for it here shortly again, but I actually think your position of 150,000 shares could be worth $5,250,000 in the next 6 to 9 months. Where do I come up with that? I think the stock, US, could be $35 in the next 9 months. Now, it could take longer, but it'd be worth the wait, wouldn't it? It'd be worth the wait. You would have your money back, but you'd also be in a position where you've not only made your money back, but you've made a nice profit, and maybe you've learned, like I'm learning. I'm not talking down. Learned from all of our experiences here, And that's what I think Railtown can do for you, Lewis. If it goes to $35, by the way, if it goes to $35, I don't think it's over with. Now we have to watch. We have to watch for the overall stock market. We have to watch for the potential of the AI 2.0 being in a bubble, or if it's not, being labeled as if it is. We got to watch for that. But smart guys like James Altucher say we're not even in the first inning of AI 2.0. So we got to watch for that. And then we've got to watch, like a hawk, what's going on with the revenue projections and all of that over the next 6 to 9 months. So there's a lot of information that we have to process. But on the other hand, those are some, you could look at all of those three negatively. On the positive side, all of those updates from the company could be really exciting as we go forward. And then the most likely thing, Lewis, is, to me, is within 9 months. Now, why do I say that? Maybe it'll be longer. Maybe it'll be 12 months. But I think within, let's say within a year, let's say by next Labor Day, within that time frame, I think the company might be sold. Now, I'm sure the people running the company don't want to be sold, because they're all extraordinarily smart, hardworking men and women, and they probably want to see their vision out. But it comes down to price. And a company like a Microsoft or a NVIDIA or an AMD, they want to get out ahead of this AI 2.0 explosion, for lack of a better word. It's not just about making money. It's about staying relevant. They want to stay in the technology game. They want to be in the pond. A lot of it's about maintaining their positions. And for a company, let's use $35 and let's assume 170 million shares. That's a $6 billion valuation for the company. Specifically, it's $5,950,000 valuation for the company. That would be slightly more than 1% of the market cap of NVIDIA or Microsoft, and they just probably issue shares. That'd be a tax-free transaction for you too, Lewis. Of course, it's just delayed until when you sell the stock. So I really think you did the right thing. There's nothing personal in my comments about what goes on. It's just paying attention to the patterns and the situations. There's no edge. With Railtown, I think you have an edge. I think you have the market behind the overall stock market right now behind your back. I think you have the AI 2.0 market, Wall Street, behind your back, and the whole change in technology. And I also think you have, with Railtown, the team that prepared for this, and with AI Partners, you have the team who also prepared for this enthusiasm in the AI space. And I think you have two of the best teams available in Canada. I know they play snookers, and they move that clay rock on the ice. and they play hockey, eh? But Canada's a pretty dynamic, well-educated, well-endowed country. And so anyway, I think you did the right thing. Let me just do another calculation here for $35, Louis. And I'm going to use 25x, not 50x or 100x or 150x. But what would that revenue stream need to be? It would have to be $240 million revenue. I think that's entirely achievable for the combined Railtown AI partners. As I understand it, AI partners loose group already does 400 million. Now that's down at the partnerships level. They have to bring those companies up to the partnership level, to the company level. But you figure they can get 100 or 150 million of that easily. I've tried to show you that Railtown's product Conductor should easily. I mean, if they get $108, $108 a year on, I know I'm making an assumption, on GitHub. My power almost went out. GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft, 1 million users. Let's say Microsoft buys them. I know that's a lot of ifs. And they make GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft, makes each of those users use the newly acquired Conductor at $108 a year. That's 108 million. At 25 times that, that's 2.7 billion. You're halfway to that number. If the revenues from AI partners, which are my understanding in February, were 400 million, if you just get a third of that, half of that, you're at 200 million, 250 million in revenue. And if it gets a 25 multiple, that's a $35 stock. If it gets a 50 multiple, it's a $70 stock. If those revenues are 500 million, which it could be, it's a very exciting space. You really did the right thing, I think, Louis. And let's look at it. The bid now is 34,700 at 52 cents. The ask is 52.7. And they're playing the games. They got 66.5, 66.5 again, 16.5. It looks like at least three different offers at 66.5. They're trying to make you think there's a lot of stock for sale. Zero stock for sale. It's all fake. It's all fake. All right, let me go down here. How have you bead? I've bead. How? I've gone through these already. Hey, Eddie Eagle, CJ, Yukon, Clay. Yeah, God, this is where I stopped, Clay. All right, I'll do my best, Clay. Please, please, please quit sparring with the detractors. Hey, Mark. Hey, Deacon Blue. They call me Deacon Blue. T-Bo Teese. So here, Richard Hoffman came on here and said, oh, you can't sell in the United States. we'll have to remember that you did. So good for you. $10,000 shares of GTII at 10 cents. Awesome. And you bought it for 4 cents. Wow. I was probably telling you you were crazy to buy it at 4 cents. So you were able to buy an additional 2,100, and that's amazing. You know, that looks like a small amount. But if we use $35 as a 9-month to 18-month target, in other words, let's say a year to a year and a half, we use $35 as a target. You know, that little trade you just did, selling GTII 10,000 shares for 10 cents. And so you bought 2,115. And let's say you wait till 35. That's 74 grand. You can go buy a used pickup. I can't believe the prices on pickup trucks. They've lost their minds. They've lost their minds. China makes a truck for something like $20,000. And I think in India there's a bare bones truck they make for something like, and it's really small, but they sell it for like something like 8 grand. Tell you what, if they sold those two models here in the United States, I think people would buy them. It might not be their only vehicle, but I think people would buy them. Giuseppe, new total, all right. Well, you know, it could be this afternoon. It could be tomorrow. It could be Monday. It could be September 1st. I don't know the exact day. And, you know, frankly, no one's told me that for sure they're going to close that transaction. So I'm extrapolating from the enthusiasm I hear on the phone. I do believe if for some reason the deal didn't get done, there'd probably be a short-term sell-off. I don't think it'd last, though, because I think Railtown all by itself is worth, I mean, this research report says $2. If you use, instead of 12, use 25 multiple on 1-year-old numbers, that gets you to $4. But what if you use 50? You know, it's an $8 stock. 50x, I mean, 50x. I think it'll be all just fine either way it turns out. So 83.5. Northeast Iowa. Hello, William. When Railtown releases their rock and roll information on the company, do you think it'll be after hours? I didn't hear that. I'd be excited if you know something. In other words, if they did something after hours today, will the price reflect in after hours or wait till the next morning? The only reason I'm hesitating is I don't know what would happen in Canada. Here on the over-the-counter, it doesn't trade after market or prior to the market. I wonder what happens in Canada. I could look on Yahoo maybe, and they'll say. That was a long article by Martin Armstrong yesterday. I didn't expect it to be that long. Trump goes to Alaska tomorrow. I think it's going to be, there's bigger things that are going to get done. Economic deals, get rid of a whole class of nuclear missiles, and maybe we'll move our troops out of Germany. I don't know. I don't see any information here, but I'm going to assume that it will not trade after market. It will not trade. It's an interesting question. It won't in the over-the-counter market. So, and that Northeast Iowa is why I think you could see some real pressure on the stock. When I say it opens at a higher price, that's what I mean. Let's say they put great news out tonight. There's no buying tonight or tomorrow morning. So when the stock opens at 9:30, you could see a real liftoff. The shorts will probably try to fight it for as long as their broker dealers allow them to. But I don't think they're going to have much luck. But it's interesting. I didn't hear that something would come out tonight. It'd be interesting to see if you're right, your instinct. Dennis Alex, that's my 4,000 shares for sale. Doesn't that keep the shorts from borrowing shares? Why are you selling stock why are you going to try to sell this? Are you a short? Why would you be trying to sell stock at 52 cents? I just went through with you how it could be worth $35 in a year. Why would you be selling at 52 cents? If you want to prevent the shorts from shorting your stock, put an order out at $50, $100 to sell GTC. But I no longer believe it matters, Dennis. I really don't think it matters that much. If Wall Street were still following the rules, it'd matter. But Goldman Sachs invented the F3 button where, hey, we can't locate, but I'll hit this button and boom, there's some shares available. I don't think it really matters what you do. But I don't know why you'd be selling. Oh, I see. You're buying 4,000 shares? That's my 4,000 shares. There's 4,000 on the bid to buy. I see 50,000 offered. I don't know, Dennis. I'm confused by your question. And if anyone else gets the idea that somehow selling the stock here prevents the shorts from shorting, don't think that way. We don't have to fight the shorts here. The only fighting is I'm trying to keep you from selling, but we don't have to fight the shorts here. You don't have to worry. This isn't a short squeeze story. It might have that experience, but this is not a short squeeze story. The stock is going to go up on fundamentals. So whatever the shorts do, let them do it. As long as you don't sell your stock, let the shorts do whatever they do. Don't join them. It's insane, Dennis. Why you would be selling at 52 cents? The stock was 70 cents just 4 weeks ago. It wasn't there because it didn't belong there. It's pulled back because of the quiet period and the criminals selling off. But that's just the pause for the cause. And you're about to see how big the cause is. And so are the shorts. This is not a short story, and I don't care. I don't think you should be trying to fight the shorts. I don't care if they short it more. I mean, unless I'm misreading your question, I really think it's foolish to sell stock at 52 cents here. But hey, people make a lot of foolish choices. Bull market investor afternoon. This is complete. This statement leads me to believe Dennis Alex is a short, and doesn't that keep the shorts from borrowing my shares? No, it doesn't. They hypothecate, rehypothecate, and rehypothecate, and rehypothecate at will. I don't think it does anything. It might make it slightly more difficult, but not much. But the idea of putting out an order to sell at 52 cents to keep, that's like saying, hey, I just shot myself in my head. That way it'll prevent the neighbor from killing me. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Bill Michael, my daily ham update. Ham and cheese on rye with brown mustard. G-Bucks 10Q release, 18,000 in cash. Well, they got 18,000. How much is that per share? And canceled the Charter House gold deal. Well, that's a surprise. In one live, I really questioned the validity of that deal and pointed out, I can't remember now, it's an LOI or something, but it was weak. That gold deal was weak. There was nothing in that announcement that said they purchased. It just was all fluff. And I said that, but I only did it once because the blowback is so severe. So they have 18,000 in cash and they canceled the Charter House gold deal. Can you say GTII? G-Bucks will go to 0. Well, it's going to go lower, I think. Let's see where it is, Bill. It's down 10 cents. It's down 0.0981 at 68 cents. So it's basically done a round trip from where it was 7 or 8, 9 months ago. It's a round trip to where it was 9 months ago. So if you traded it well, and that's the other thing, if there is an investor out there who listens to Ham's ideas and she gets in and she has the discipline to sell when everybody else is getting excited and buying, she somehow is able to fight that emotion and fight that story, fight the crowd, and she sells. So there was a chance with G-Bucks to buy it at 68 cents, sell it at $8 or something like that, $7. But most people wouldn't have done it because the reason you bought it is because you think it's going to squeeze, and then it's showing signs of squeezing. It's a very tough game to win at. Very tough game. I'd say buying the stock is less than half the decision. Less than half the decision to make a profitable trade. It's certainly the easiest thing is just buying it. Knowing when to sell and following it and keeping up on the information and sort of sussing out where the tide might turn, that's a tough job. And it's almost a full-time job. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. Railtown is now bidding 52 cents, 34.7 on the bid, which seems to be a real bid. The ask, but you don't know. They could be crossing. They could be trying to move it from one LLC to another, try to burn one prime broker, but protect a different. Who knows? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about this shorts being in it. They are there. And it is part of the story. I agree. But you don't have to fight them. The fundamentals are just going to blow them away. This is going to be like, any scene on a movie where you see somebody open or open the door on a jet aircraft plane or open the back door. It's just going to be anything that's not tied down is going to be sucked out of this position in a bad way. I mean, it's going to be tough for the criminals. There might be some criminals that lose their money and can't get back in the game. It couldn't happen to a better group of guys. Odds are they'll be bailed out. But I think Railtown's going to cost Wall Street a lot of money. But that's not the story. It's like an interesting something happening on the side of the road, but you don't want a rubberneck on it. You want to just keep your focus going ahead, because the good stuff is right around the corner, and there the bridge lights up into Cincinnati, and the lights are on, and it's a beautiful city to drive into, as an example. Yeah, that bid seems strong. It's 125,000 shares. 3,000 just went off at 52.22. So let's keep going down. Well, it was plain to me that you meant plain, but I didn't want to explain it. The only reason I didn't read that sentence is the other part of the sentence. G Diddy. Wow, you're leaping. We're going up by leaps and bounds. Good for you. Good for you. I understand why you would do that. You have a profit in silver, and over the next, silver can break out, but I worry about silver breaking out because I don't have a position in it that I have wanted to reestablish. But if I had to try to call it without my own personal wishes involved, I think gold and silver both, because everybody's talking about it now. Everybody's talking about it now. I would be more inclined to think you could see a pullback without changing my bullish view, but you could see a pullback in the short run, because they play the same games, particularly in the silver market, that they do in these stocks. So I think that's a smart move, G Diddy. And who knows, you might find out that it won't be very hard to reestablish that position if you want to. I think you did a a wise, a calculated move, and I think the timing is perfect. I do not think Railtown, even if I'm right, was correct, was in the past, that it might take till the second week of September. That's not very far away. But after speaking with the company very kindly, the gentleman called me. He didn't say it, just to be clear. He didn't give me a time frame, but he did use the word imminent. I don't think that means anything per se, because I don't think it's up to the company. I think it's up to the attorneys and probably a group of regulators. But it did build my confidence to hear the word imminent. So maybe it'll be something, I don't know, next week, the following week, instead of September. And so I think your timing is perfect. And as I'm speaking, G Diddy, the ask just went to 54 cents. Now it's under it. They got 40,000 at 52.23, 58,000 at 52.64, 58, 8, 58. But I just saw an ask at 54. It's not showing up again. It's not showing up again. It's 3 o'clock. Yeah, I did see it, but it's not there now. Or if it's there, it's not being reflected. Good job, G Diddy. Hey, Red Pepper Ronnie. There's Flying Bus Driver. How are you? Don't take your eyes off those little fuel switches to the engines. Make sure your co-pilot doesn't touch them. Wow, good number. Flying Bus Driver. If this works, when it works, I'm going to suddenly have to say sir and ma'am to a bunch of you guys. And by the way, I'll be so happy that each of you becomes financially independent. I'll be happy for each of you. Yeah, I'm not seeing that 54 again. The volume is 133,000. I wonder if Northeast Iowa knows something, or he's just going with a gut instinct, or it was just a generic question. That could be the case too. But the stock, to me, the stock is trading not with a lot of volume, but the price action indicates to me that somebody somewhere has woken up and I can't get the quote of the Canadian stock here, but I would imagine that somebody in Canada is bidding the stock up. I can get it, but it's delayed quote. I can see what it says. Well, it says 71 cents at 220. So it hasn't even traded. I wonder what's going on there. Hasn't even traded, according to Yahoo. Yeah. I don't know why it hasn't traded on Yahoo. It is delayed, so maybe there's a trade there. It just doesn't show up. But they're really trying to confuse you with large sell orders. 40,000 to sell, 58,000 to sell, 8,000 to sell. I hope Dennis Alex is the bid, 4,000 shares bid. at 52.01. Dennis Alex is turning out to probably be a short. I need 87.5 to break even on your account. Well, one way to do it is to buy more shares of Railtown now, and that's why people make fun of me and find it laughable and all that. But if in your broad senses of investments, from your house to your education, all the way down to junk like GTII, you have a junk bucket, you have a high risk bucket, and you have a speculative bucket. Those last three buckets, I think you should have all your money in Railtown. And if you're delaying making that allocation, you're going to regret it. It's like somebody walking out of who was that guy? That guy on TV, Crazy Eddie, best sale. So you go to a sale and they've got Sony Bravio, or however you say it, TVs on sale, and they're going to run out, and you don't buy the biggest one. You buy a medium-sized one because you figure that's good enough. When you get home, you're gonna constantly think, I should have bought the larger one. I should have bought the bigger television. It would be perfect. And it was on sale, and they're all gone now. That's how you're going to feel about Railtown. Nobody goes home wishing they had purchased a smaller color TV, even if they don't. I don't know if they exist anymore. Are TVs a thing of the past? You're in a matter of days, matter of weeks, surely not more than 1 month or so, maybe 2 months, you're going to look back and say, why didn't I buy more shares of Railtown? That's my opinion. So one way to make your break-even number come down is to own more shares of Railtown. But if you're here to cause people to have doubt, hopefully they're listening to me, not you. But just if you're trying to break even and you don't want to add any more shares, just hold on to your Railtown. Don't be shaken out by the latest idea. I think in a buyout, and this is a wild arse guess, we don't have enough information. But I bet if there were a bidding war 9 months from now to buy Railtown, the price could be $275 a share. That is just a wild ass guess, though. We don't know. We don't have enough information. But if they got to 500 million in revenue, and the bidding war came on, and it went at 100x, you'll blow through $87.50. Sorry, my eyesight. You'll go into the green. But your comment brings up why I've been so adamant that if you have these crap stocks, oh no, every stock that's not Railtown is a crap stock. Yeah, I'd say that's pretty much all these stocks are crap stocks. And I don't think Railtown is. I think Railtown is here perhaps during COVID, during the startup, it belonged here maybe, but it was in its R&D phase. It was in the garage. It's coming out now. And just as it's starting to acquire customers, and they've already announced, I think, 5 of them. You can look at news stories. I don't want to get it wrong. It's 4 or 5. Everything got put on hold because they're buying AI partnerships, which is gigantic. It's not a small thing. It's really big. It's John Ruffalo, Dr. Tom Core, it's Omers, it's Mike Norbrega, it's the guy from IBM, and it's 165 companies in the network, each of which could be the next SoundHound. I want to show you SoundHound. It's right now 4,000 bid for 5201. The ask, they're trying to scare you. There's nothing for sale. Hey, John, how are you? You were right about platinum. I think I might have read it out, but I think platinum was the #1. Is it in here? No, it was on the other service. It's the other service I subscribe to. Platinum, #1 performing metal, I think, for the first 6 months of this year. I think I'm right on that. Mr. Tang Wu, how are you? Please. Well, guys, I don't think you should be looking at other stocks right now. There is no other stock you need to buy. But this one, I don't know what it is, Telvantis. But what intrigues me, it's got 100 million in revenue. And I'll try to look it up when I get to the bottom of these messages. And Mr. Tang Wu thinks it's the best play on the over-the-counter. I disagree. I don't even know anything about it. I think the best play is Railtown. However, what interests me about this story is this 100 million, because Railtown easily could come out of the gate with 100 million. You know, if they just got a quarter of the AIP revenue, it's 100 million. It'd be interesting to see what this company is valued for because of 100 million. I tried to tell you about PNF last year. Ham did a space call with the CFO. Price was 17 cents. Now it's getting ready to uplist. Look, I didn't hold any space calls with that guy, but that guy first came on to call with Busy Brands, and I think Junk Savvy was there, and so it's not really Ham. I didn't need Ham to introduce it, but good for Ham, good for you. It was 17 cents. Guys, if you want to listen to Mr. Tang Wu, spread your money out and be mediocre. If you want to create a meaningful account and create financial independence, focus, concentrate your position in Railtown. Ignore this stock. Ignore Mr. Tang Wu's other stock. Later on, when you have a bigger account, you can listen to Mr. Tang Wu and you can put, 0.1% of your account in each of his stocks, and you'll own bigger positions in those shares than you can afford to now. But there are times just to block out everything else, focus on one transaction, and that transaction is Railtown. These 2 stocks Mr. Tang Wu is giving you will not. I will make a bet for $1 with each of you up to up to 192 shareholders that neither of those two stocks will give you 10x in the next 4 to 6 weeks. None of them. Those two and all the other ones. 10x. So you can continue to listen to, hey, a CEO got on a space call and it's going to uplist. Finger uplisted. What good did it do? I just don't think it's the right way to go. And I showed you, I don't know if it's there right now. I can try to show it to you again. That the idea of spreading your monies across many of these stories, even with some of them going up, you're better off focusing, concentrating, again, with these 3 buckets, the high risk, the junk, the speculative buckets, focusing it all on Railtown. Do it for 6 weeks. And then you'll be in a position to listen to Mr. Tang Wu if you want to. I don't think you should. Although it does look like he's picked 2 very good stocks. He's saying there's more bang for your buck in radar. So Mr. Tang Wu must be a short. He must be a short. Let's look up RDAR. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There's 22 million shares offered for sale at 0.0015. 22 million shares. That stock is seller boxed. That stock has been destroyed by the shorts. Don't listen to Mr. Tang Wu. Do not listen to Mr. Tang Wu. Good Lord. RDAR, are you serious? Go peddle your crap somewhere else. Michael Haight, I sold all of my G-Buck shares. I know, Michael. I don't mean to. The reason I'm laughing, well, you probably got a good price. You know what? Your instinct was probably right. Let me look at the chart on G-Bucks. And I've done that too, Michael. That's why I'm laughing, because it's a situation I'd be in. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. I think you did the, oh my gosh. Let me just look where I mean, that stock's going to 50 cents. It's going to 50 cents. Of course, my chart, this thing keeps moving around, so I can't quite get, but 50 cents is where it's headed. But it could go lower. It could go lower. I lost the chart. So I think you did the right thing, Michael. The reason I laugh is that's kind of what I did with 2 different stocks. And it's hard to do. You know, they're up. I'm like, why didn't I sell it up there? But the good discipline that you did is you stopped it. You got out. That thing's not going back up, and more likely it's going down. And your action, I think, has saved you. It's really amazing. I don't know what you paid for G-Bucks, but if it goes from 70 cents to 50 cents, it seems like, well, that's only 20 cents. But as a percentage of your cash well, okay, it's not cash, but as a percentage of your value, it's a big part of that. It's like 40%. I did that in my head, so if I'm wrong, it's not on purpose. But it's a huge loss. So by selling, you're saving that, and you're buying, you're taking advantage of the fact that Railtown is cheap. So I think you did a brilliant thing, and I think you're going to see that you'll make everything back that you lost in G-Bucks very quickly. Very quickly. Ugh, this stuff is terrible. This is my medicine, which I dread taking. Ugh. But I better do it. All right. Did I tell you that we have 11,282,689 shares? 8%, 8.1%. It's pretty amazing. Good for you, Michael. Good for you. Hey, Donna M. Can't I see the sale is at 15? No, I can't. I can't see that. So you put your sale out at 15. All right, well, that's good. I think that's too low. And we should talk about that at some point. I don't know if today's the time. I'm going to cross off Mr. Tang Wu's ideas completely. Not going to waste any more time on that. Let me suggest to you, and I guess you're just going to try to get people to sell at 15 and turn it into a win for retail. But at $15 times, let's say 170 million shares, there's only 140 million out. That's $2.5 billion market cap for Railtown. And right now, when you're looking at the screen, you're saying, wow, that sounds big. I think Railtown, as it comes through this, if they announce that the deal's completed, if they announce revenue deals that we can extrapolate at 100 million, maybe even 150 million, maybe more, maybe 200 or 300 million, if we can start making those extrapolations, the company's worth $5, $7, $10 billion. And if you get out of 15, you won't be able to get back in. And so it seems innocuous for you to put that out there, but it's really bad advice. Now, I will admit we don't have enough information to know for sure. So we have to then, let's say they finally complete this, we're going to have to go through, I don't know line by line, but we're going to have to really scan with a readiness to stop at any paragraph that catches our eye and try to understand revenue, magnitude of growth, those kind of things, growth, revenue, costs, all that we got to look at. And if we can get through that and make some projections, $15, I don't know, Dennis, how many shares you have, but let's say you have 10,000 shares and you sell it at 15 and you listen to Platinum Blonde who must have the other half of the hollowed out pea for her brain that Tony wasn't given at his birth. She says, well, I don't get it. If you sell it, why shouldn't you be able to buy it back? Well, the fact is, if you sell at 15 and institutions are buying it, all you need is 5 or 10 institutions, each wanting 5% of the company, or 3% or 4%, combining that with the insiders, and there's no stock for sale. So you might think you're doing some genius move, getting out at $15 based on nothing. You have no information, none. And so you're going to put the order out. And what if you find out that their revenues are 300 million and the stock's worth $60 and you go, oh my gosh, I got to get back in. You might not be able to buy 10,000 shares. Why? Because the only stock that's available for sale right now are hypothecated, rehypothecated, lied about, mismarked tickets, borrowed stock, marked long and sold short. All that selling is going to disappear. And then the stock that's taken off the market and put in the vaults of institutions and wealthy investors who have a brain, they're not going to sell their stock at 15 or at 20 or at 25. And you're not going to be able to replace your position. But let's talk about that later. That's what scares me. If there is a bit of a short squeeze, people are going to make the choice you make, which is, I think, just so short-sighted. And that gets you back in the pool of having to be hot money and having to listen to the latest breathless explanation that this company has contracts, and it's like reading a bad Wilbur Smith novel. Every company that's brought to you, it spans 5 generations and 3 continents, a tale of love with one woman, but his heart is torn by another. And his fortune he's made, he lost one, but now he's on the verge of a greater fortune. And it has all the pieces and it's all seductive. That's all these stories are. They're Wilbur Smith novels. That's all they are. And when you finish them, you wonder what you read. Donna M. Did you see it at 55 cents? Yeah, I did see it, Donna. I saw that earlier, and I saw 44 cents on the ask. Right now, it's 52.01 on the bid. They don't want you to see. Somebody's in there with a large bid at 52 cents. They don't want you to see it. So they stepped in front of it for 2,500 shares, which is no money at all. What is that, $1,000? A little more than $1,000. They stepped in at 52.01. So you don't think there's big buyers. And then they're moving stock around, spoofing it. It's illegal as hell. But remember, Charlie Chuck E. Cheese, Cromwell, the rat, the mouse, he's not even a rat. He's just a squeaky mouse. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Nobody complains. Nobody looks out for shareholders. Nobody looks out for CEOs. You get the job and you forget any moral responsibility. It's a hell of a price to pay for being stylish. But Donna, it opened at 55.3. 55.3 was the opening trade. Well, Dennis isn't a short. He's selling at 15. Good luck. Good luck. Good luck. How do you know 15 is the right price? Just guessing? Good luck. I think there is, well, let's try to talk about it right now, even though we've only got 40 minutes left. Let's say Railtown were to do were to do 500 million in revenue at 25x. That's a $75 target. Do you see it right here in the yellow, in the big blue in the middle? It's a $75 price target on the stock. Now I discounted it by 90% over here at 750. But if you follow Dennis's advice, because he's concerned that you're going to hold the stock, they want to limit their losses, and you sell at 15, you miss out on the move to 75. Now, right now, just like Dennis, I'm making projections without enough information. But if you follow Dennis's advice and put an order in at 15, and the stock, let's say, squeezes, and you say, oh, I'll get out, I'll buy it again, I've already tried to explain there may not be any shares available to buy. So if you're fortunate enough to have a position like Lewis Shotland's position of 150,000 shares, and you sold at 15, that would look nice. Hey, a win for retail. But Lewis would not be able to reestablish that position, possibly, because he'd be competing with institutions. Now, I think the stock goes to $75. I think it goes to $100. The question is when. So if there's a squeeze, that gets tricky. Let's say the stock, let's say I'm correct. That's 500 million in revenue at 25x. Let's say the stock is headed to $75 a share in 2 years. 2 years. 24 months. Now, what are the risks? Well, the risks are the multiples contract, but I'm just starting with 25x, not the higher numbers. And I guess there's the overall market risk. So just for sake of argument, let's assume that you accept my target that in 2 years the stock will be $75 a share. If you stay as a hot trader, you don't know who Dennis Alex is. You don't know why he's here. But if you're following this mishmash of advice and you get out at $15, obviously, in the short run, you feel like a king. You feel like a king. But you miss out on $60. You miss out on $60. Why would you do that? Now, I admit there's a lot of information, and there's, we have to process. But why would you put an order at 15 when you know nothing? You're completely doing it blind. Dennis wants you to put it in there because Dennis he wants to limit his losses if this thing runs. They're scared. Dennis is scared. So let me point out two things. If you sell your position at $15, you may find when you try to buy back, there are no failure to deliver, failure to locate, counterfeit shares being sold anymore, which is over 90% of the sell volume is all fake right now. And it has been for the last 8-10 weeks. And so if the stock goes to 15, you may not see any of that selling happen again. That's a risk you're taking. Secondly, the price, but when you try to buy back in, that price may be $30 before you get back in. It is stupid to put a sell at $15 when you don't have information. On the other hand, if you want to be in the hot hand business, it's a win for retail. Now, what would take the stock to $75? I showed you. If the annual spend on software, AI software, is going to be $300 billion, and Railtown got let's say 3% to keep it consistent with what I was showing you yesterday. They got 3% of that market. Now I'm talking 2 years down the road. I'm not talking by the end of the year. Times 3%. That's $9 billion. $9 billion in revenue. And you're going to say, oh, that's preposterous. Well, I don't know. Nobody knew about NVIDIA or some of these other stocks. So that's $9 billion in revenue. And let's just use 12.5x as a valuation multiple. Not 25, not 50, not 100. That gives a valuation to Railtown of $112 billion. This is what scares Dennis. And he doesn't want you to do this much thinking. He wants you to think, hey, it's a win for retail. So the annual profitable spend that's coming for corporations, apparently, I mean, I'm getting this from various sources of data, and Corey mentioned it on his video, and it's my interpretation of his video. You can see it on YouTube. I've played them for you. If they got 3% of that market, I think they'll get a much bigger part of that market, but whatever. That's $9 billion in revenue. Times 12x, 12.5x, not 25. It gives you a market value of $112 billion. Well, let's see what that's worth. Let's see what that's worth at 170 million shares. I mean, I don't know why you'd listen to Dennis. I really don't. I'm not predicting this, by the way, but you're going to see the magnitude. the potential magnitude. That would be worth $600 a share, $662 a share in 2 years. I'm not predicting that. We don't have enough information. But this is only 3% of that targeted market, and it's only 12.5% multiple, and it gives you $100 billion. 600. Why would you sell at 15? Because Dennis is scared. The shorts exposure to losses are gigantic. And he would be grateful to anybody that gives their stock at $15. Now, I've shown you this. I gave you a reasonable target of $75. I've shown you what seems preposterous right now. But when you look that it's only 3% of the addressable market and it's a low multiple, you start saying, wait a minute, there's a big number in there somewhere. Maybe it's not $600, maybe it's $200. And it makes me wonder why you would listen to Dennis at all. But here's the issue. Here's the issue. What if there is a short squeeze? What if there is a short squeeze? What do you do if there is a short squeeze? And that's a tough question. From where I sit right now, I'd say ixnay. On $15, I'd say no, because I don't want to lose my position because I may not be able to get back in, even if I had a win for retail. What, I'm going to go into the next G-Bucks? But what if it I don't know, it did a squeeze to $250 very quickly? You know, I'm just making numbers up, but if it had a squeeze to $15, I think I'd say no. What if it went to $250? I don't know. That gets in the range. Well, if I can't buy back my position, so what? I'll take $250. But remember, you got to pay taxes, and it's short term. It's quite possible, in my judgment, that if Microsoft and NVIDIA, for example, got in a bidding war for Railtown, these are so many assumptions that I can't vouch for yet. But I think it's totally plausible in a buyout, they'll pay over $250 a share. But we don't know that yet. So if a squeeze happened now, somewhere between $15 and $250, there's a line where you say yes and a line where you say no. I don't know where that line is. I don't think I would sell the stock at 25. Would I sell it at 50? I don't think so. But we don't have enough information right now. Would I sell it at 100? That gets problematic. You got to remember, though, after this stock goes up, if it does, the 46 million shares that have been made available by the shorts, that'll no longer exist. That'll no longer exist as shares you can buy. And so it becomes a very hard thing. If you want to be in it for the long, and we don't know enough information now, I grant that. But that's why I argue you don't know enough information now to put the order out at $15. It's stupid. But anyway, the bid right now is $52.01. The ask is $52.7. The volume is 141,000. And, you know, a lot of smaller trades, 1,500, 500, 1,350, 2,000, 1,000. At the moment on my screen, Railtown's the only stock in the green, but it's barely in the green. We've got 8 minutes to go. Let me go down this list and see. I'm not short. I'm selling not for nothing because I don't know anything. I just picked a number. I'm going to sell at 15. Well, you don't know what you're doing. I have an order to sell at 15. What's so hard about what I'm doing? It's 15. I think it's stupid. I wouldn't sell it at 15. I wouldn't sell it at 15, not 52 cents. Well, thank you, Dennis. Thanks for all your comments. The Toronto Market Exchange says Railtown is 3 cents up. Wow. You're illiterate. You're hardly illiterate. Let me look. Maybe by now there's a quote. Yeah, I see a trade at 313 and it says 71 cents. What's the volume? 70,000. Yeah. So we got 5 minutes to go. 52.46. G-Bucks is down 8 cents at 70 cents. This other idiot thing is totally seller boxed. They're paying Mr. Wu a lot of money to bring that to your attention because they manufacture money. The spread is so big. Nixie is down 7.5 cents. That Aware thing is down 5 cents. Quantum is down $1 almost at 22.33. Energy Vault is up. It's up 11.5 cents at 157.5. And I don't know what you may. I'd be careful, but you can make of it what you want. Fingers down 0.0499 at 143. Did we already do GiveBucks? I can't remember. GiveBucks is down 8.5 cents at 69.46. So let's go back to Railtown. I don't think any of these others really matter. Railtown is bid 52.01 for 2,500. I bet underneath that 0.5201 is a big bid at 0.52, but they don't show it. And then the ask, they're trying to pretend that there's a lot of stock for sale. Um, 4,000 shares just went off at 52.23. All right, let's keep going. Rumor. Hey, guys, if you want to follow rumors and you want to go lose your money and you want to deal with Alpine again, go follow Mr. Tang Wu somewhere else. You're going to lose everything. It's idiotic. When you have a seller box stock and it goes from, let's say, a penny to a penny and a half, that in there is 50, depending on where you start, it's 50%. That is a that's a bigger spread than Senator Larry Craig could ever create. And they just print money all day and they give Mr. Wu a kickback. You're asking 15? Well, I don't know. I've commented on it. I think selling at $15 is, you don't know any more than I know right now, by the way. I'm giving you reasonable projections, but until they make the announcements, and I assume, I don't know, but I assume there's been a backup of announcements they need to make. And until we start understanding the story, we don't know. But I'm telling you, Dennis, this stock very likely should be, I say $5, $7.50, $10. It might be that this stock should be $15 today. Why would you sell at 15? Why? Do you know something? Or are you just guessing? Anyway, I want to move on. Those are never on sale, not Sony, not Apple. Okay. Hey, Steve. The stock just closed at 52 in the green, 52 to 56, 163,000 shares. And it was 3,000 shares on the close. It looks like G-Bucks around 69 cents, Finger $1.43.5, Energy Vault 147, Quantum 22.30, and I don't know if Ming 10 Mountain, that closed up 77 cents at 11.80. So those are your scores around the league. So here, Dennis is trying to get you to think like he's not long, he's short. He's saying 15 times 4 is 60 grand. I'll take it for now. He wants you thinking that way. It may be. I mean, once we look at the numbers, we may say, wow, 15's the number. But I want to get it across to people. For the last 8 weeks, actually probably for the last 8 months, but the numbers we've looked at from Tom Ronk, and I don't know if he has a new set of numbers, I haven't seen it, but the last one I saw, it was 46 million shares short. Now, we don't know if they did any movement or covering and all that, but that's the established position. As they sold stock, they sought the exemption on Reg Show, and it was collated both on the FINRA data and data that Tom Ronk pays for. 46 million shares have been made available for you to buy. They've suppressed the price, but they've also allowed this idiot to buy 4,000 shares if he really did. And he's just coming up with a number, stab in the dark number. I mean, I guess it's to each his own. But if we conceptually, what if Railtown comes out of the quiet period and for a couple of weeks, it's August, nobody does anything, but then in September, people start coming back to their desk and they pull out their giant computers and their calculators and their spreadsheets. They do their market estimates. They say Canadian AI is this big, United States AI is even bigger, and these guys control 165 companies, and they're the first to move with Conductor. Let's try to extrapolate what their revenue is. They've announced 5 deals already, and who knows, by September they announced 2 more. I don't know, I'm making it up. Maybe they have 7 revenue deals that can be studied, but then the analysts can extrapolate what could that do. They're in the Microsoft resell area with 1,000 users for GitHub, but what about the other users? And then they're in NVIDIA, which is hard to get into, and they're AMD. So these people that have all this data are going to start looking at what revenue can the combined company, Railtown AI, do. Dennis wants you to just sell so he can cover some of his risk. But what if out of the gate, let's say by October, some of these quants and these analysts and these people that study and know AI, unlike Dennis Alex, they come up with, let's use one of the smaller numbers. Let's use this top line here, 3 billion, and let's use 3% penetration. That's the smallest estimate there. A market of 3 billion at 3% penetration. It's the smallest estimate. That comes from the research report for Railtown all by itself from a year ago. Let's use that. So 3 billion in revenue market. What do you call it? Targeted market. They get 3% of it. This is so low as to be ridiculous. And a man in my position cannot afford to be made to look ridiculous. So it's 90 million in revenue. 90 million in revenue. And let's say, I don't know what to guess, but let's say the profit margins are huge. I don't know what huge would be, but let's just say it's profitable. So it's 90 million. The reason I'm saying the profit margins are huge, this is the low end of the revenue. It would imply that these smart people are going to see revenue growth and that revenue is valuable. So let's start with 25x. Let's start with 25x. That's a $2.5 billion almost company. And we'll use 170 million shares. That gives you a target of $13. That's out of the gate, $13 at 25x. But what if all these people, as we've seen, the mania, they don't pay 25x. They say 50x. Well, all of a sudden that stock's $26. And if you follow this idiot, you get out at 15 before you know anything. But we could know these kind of numbers next week. I mean, it might take longer. Guys, we're in a limbo. But if they use 50x on 90 million, it's a $26 company. Well, let's for the sake of argument, use the next lowest size of the market. In one of his talks, he used the software developer market. This was a year ago. And I think he was talking about the current market then, not now. But he used a software developer market of 11 billion, which is very low, by the way. $11 billion. I think that was the existing market in 2023, but I'm not positive. But let's use the low target market, and we'll use 3% again. Let's say they get 3%. They're the first to move. They're the best in class, battle tested. I think 3% is probably low. So that's 330 million in revenue. This could be visible by the end of the year. Could be visible to the quants and the analysts by September. So let's say 330 million revenue. Let's not use 50x. Let's say 25x. That gives a valuation of over $8 billion. Completely reasonable. Completely reasonable. If you divide that by 170 million shares, that gives you a target of $48.50. This could be knowable to all of the brainiacs with money by September. I mean, they think they know it. This could be knowable by then, and you're going to get out at 15? Dennis's advice is not meant to give you good advice. It's to protect his losses. These are the kind of numbers that the shorts are looking at. This is 11 billion. Do you know what he said that the software market, the software developer market is going to be? He said the developer tools market, he said 21 billion. He didn't say 11 billion. Let's use 21 billion. That's the numbers these research analysts and these institutions are going to be using as calculations. They're not going to cowboy it like Dennis here. So what if we use 21 billion? That's the number given, at least it's on the page where I took notes from Corey Brandolini's presentation from a year ago, where he talked about being in the Microsoft partners, battle-tested solutions, the software developers market's the biggest in the world, and so on. And he talked about bundling services. Maybe, I think he meant with Microsoft, but all I wrote down was bundled services. So I don't remember. But I also wrote down underneath that 21 billion is the developer tools market in 2025, 21 billion. So let's use that market number. And let's assume 3%. This could be visible in September. We don't know. We just don't know yet. But let's use 21 billion. 21 billion times 0.03 as market penetration. That's 630 million in revenue. 630 million in revenue. Annualized. We don't know this number yet, but it's plausible. If conductors as good as they say, and if they can cross-sell across 160 companies, and if the software development tools market this year is 21 billion, and they can capture 3% of that. They're the first mover, best in class, and according to all information, they solve a problem no one else has. But we'll have to find out if that's true. That's 630 million in annualized revenue. Yes, it'll be in the future, but remember the marketplace for these things, they're paying 50, 100, 150 times revenue. Let's just use 25 to stay consistent. Good Lord, that's an expensive company. Let's see what it works out to per share at 170 million shares. It's $92 a share. That's using 21 billion as the target market at 3% and a multiple of 25. $92 a share. And you want to sell at 15? You don't know yet. That's all I'm telling you, is you don't know yet. I would not put an order out at 15. If these numbers, if $92 is a number that institutions accept, they're going to buy every share you sell at 15, and they will not put it back on the market. And then the criminals won't sell additional shares. You'll help Dennis limit his losses, but you're not helping yourself. So I just think it's a really, look guys, that's 21 billion. The next market size is 309 billion. I'm not going to even calculate that. The spend on software AI solutions will be 309 billion. I'm not going to even calculate that. 21 billion at 25x, it's $92. If you want to cut that in half and say 12.5x, it's $45, $46. Why would you sell at 15? Why? All right, let's get off of that subject and go. Hey, account settings. Wow. Wow. Oh, I thought it said 1 million. It's not 1 million. Account settings, new total is 100, and it's still great. It's still a huge position. It's still a huge position. $123,339. That's great account settings. All right. God, you're pouring my heart out. Lots of losers. Look, Dennis is trying to appeal to your emotions. Dennis wants your money hot. He wants to protect his losses. So, you can follow his advice at your own peril. Does account settings mean 1 million? He might. He might. I don't know. It's not clear. Need the money. Well, I just hope no one listens to you. You make that decision on your own. But I know that you're here trying to get people to sell early. And I'm telling you, the only stock they can get is your stock. And you collectively own a lot of stock. Don't let them take it from you. Marwan's not going to sell at 15. Dr. Tom Core is not going to sell at 15. John Ruffalo is not going to sell at 15. Corey Brandolini's not going to sell at 15. Please don't sell at 15. Dennis says he needs the money. Damn straight. He's going to need a lot of money when his short position comes home to roost. But that's not your problem. You don't have to help Dennis out. Anyway, one problem with what I'm telling you is we don't have enough information. And that's because we're in limbo. But the likelihood of Railtown being worth $15 out of the gate is very, very high. Very high. And to sell it there, you're going to cheat yourself. Brandon Neely just left Dulles Airport. All right, Dulles. You're driving by all those data centers. 65.6. If you put a GTC at 40 or 50, does that stop? You know, that's what we've been told. I don't think it's true. Brandon, my answer to you is no. I don't think it changes the thing. It's the way it used to be. But ever since the very dedicated few men got the rules changed under Bill Clinton and Secretary of Treasury, can't think of his name. He was either Citibank or something like that. His name was I can't think of his name right now. It'll pop in my head. They got the rules changed in 1994. It took 15 years or so before those changes became codified on Wall Street, such that every share you buy is electronic. Every share you buy is type 2. Every share you buy is in their electronic system. It's not in your name. It's in the name of your brokerage firm. So let's say your brokerage firm is Merrill Lynch. Everything at the transfer agent or at the DTCC regarding your position of Railtown is in street name at Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. Street name is your shares are owned by Merrill Lynch. And then Merrill Lynch can go make derivative deals with the criminals, and then the criminals can short the stock and drive it down and drive it down, take their profits offshore and never pay taxes and demand that we bomb every country in the Middle East to the tune of $3, 4, 5, 6 trillion on behalf of Israel, they can demand that because they have wealth they paid no taxes on. This is our current financial system. But no, I don't think putting GTC orders makes one difference at all. At all. Doesn't change a thing. Doesn't change a thing. The reason is what Bill Clinton changed is that when you buy shares of Railtown, you're not buying shares of Railtown. You're buying your pro rata share, your percentage that moves of that pool of stock. So Merrill Lynch can create derivatives, sell I don't know, create synthetic shares, sell hedge against the stock moving up for a premium to Goldman Sachs. And the security is the pooled shares. So those shares stay. They're probably netted out every night or so. But in general, those shares stay in Merrill Lynch's name, but they're secured by a derivatives contract that was made to the benefit of Goldman Sachs. Then Goldman's prime broker and their trading desk can start hypothecating shares to the criminals to sell as much as they want. It doesn't matter about your GTC order. I know you think there's a system in place. I know the guy that used to work at Amex thinks there's systems in place. These handful of men have spent 15 years moving their agenda forward with attorneys, with journalists, with professors, with regulators, with Congress. And it's one of the most profitable industries ever created. I mean, it took him 80 years to get to the point where Netanyahu now says out loud that he's for greater Israel, which goes to the Nile and to the Euphrates and down into Saudi Arabia. But we support it because if you don't, you're anti-Semitic and you can't get elected to Congress unless you support Israel. It's the same kind of mentality. Just move the agenda forward. Never quit. Argue every step of the way. Never be satisfied. Keep moving the agenda forward. Everybody else will get tired and then obfuscate, lie, misrepresent, but just keep moving it forward. Keep moving it forward. Keep moving it forward. So over that 15 years, they put in the Merrill Lynch rule. So there's no buying under $5. They concentrated the brokerage firms into 4, basically, and Obama moved the trading desks and the risk arb out of the firms because he allowed them to go in FDIC. So it essentially made a sort of risk-free bank, sort of, and then all the risk went out. It went out to hedge funds. And so they created their prime brokerage desks. And now they get that revenue that way without compliance. So compliance disappeared. They've corrupted the SEC and the attorneys such that Gibson Dunn represents both the Kramers, the SEC, and anybody else involved. And the crime goes on. And you want to, I don't know why people want to even be in this space anymore. There's no way to win. But no, putting a GTC, in my judgment, theoretically, it should make those shares unavailable for sale. But you don't own shares. You own a securities entitlement. You own a pro rata claim. You own a claim to shares, which you may or may never see. And so with your account, with your brokerage account, you have a black and white entry in there. And it has a value. And you say, hey, I own a lot of stock. I'm rich. But if you sell it, and for some reason the shares up at the DTCC are claimed, and you're the only person selling, or just you and two or three others, well, then Merrill Lynch will go out and buy the stock, and they'll absorb the loss because their prime brokerage and their payout on those stock loan shares is so huge that it's just a cost of doing business. So no, stop thinking that the system gives a flying footloose damn. There are no systems that you can outsmart. There are no systems in place, and it's all designed for the people who are behind this crime to print money hand over fist and not pay taxes. That's what it is. They have enough money to hire some guys who think they're smarter than they are to trumpet the stocks. They have enough money to get attorneys. They have enough money to pitch a stock to gullible whales. It's all about bringing the money in so they can steal it. The only way to avoid it, don't bring the money in. The only way to avoid getting hooked on heroin, don't use heroin. The only way to avoid getting HIV down in Houston or Atlanta, don't join in the orgies in public with unprotected sex. I mean, it's pretty simple. If you don't want to be robbed by these guys, stop listening to the stories. I took my order out. I'm not selling. Good, Dennis. Good. Now, when we get information, we can revisit whether $15 makes sense or not. There are people out there that I've talked to that would sell it. I wouldn't sell it at 25. I don't know that it gets in this gray area. And frankly, I just don't think we have enough information, Dennis. What we need to know a guesstimate anyway of revenues and revenue growth. We need to revisit constantly the multiples being assigned. We need to know the margins, the profits on their revenue. And we need to know what the company is telling analysts is their addressable market and how much they can get. These are a lot of variables we don't know because it's in the quiet period. When that quiet period ends, we can start learning those answers and start making projections ourselves. But I'm telling you, there will be 20, 30 trading desks and research departments on Wall Street dedicated to family office and et cetera that will be making their own calculations. And so we just don't know. We just don't know. I think this stock's going to surprise people to the upside. And we have to acknowledge we don't know for sure anything yet. But I mean, that's once it's for sure, the investment opportunity will be gone once it's for sure. And so the whole game, I guess, or the whole strategy of investing is to try to take available data and try as best you can to see over that next hill before anyone else does. And I think we're doing that here. Thank you again, Giuseppe. No, sir, I don't have 1 million shares. I wish, so do I. I wish I had 1 million. And frankly, if my account were the size it used to be, I'd make sure I had 1 million. Can't we deliver out our shares to protect? Yeah, we could, but it's expensive to deliver them. It'll cost a couple of $1,000 maybe, or less, and then to get them back in is a nightmare. One thing I might be able to do is set up a company or set up a fund or something, and we could accept shares as in lieu of cash as ownership. And we could have a oversight board and a investment committee. We could, Brandon, collectively, and I'm not saying we have to do this, but collectively, with 11 million shares, if the stock did go to $50, that's a really nice size fund. And we could start seeing really attractive transactions and build a track record over time. It's an interesting idea how to do it. Maddie, we love Bill's brutal, honest truth telling, even though he's a pain in the ass. Jesus is smiling. I don't know. I had dinner with my sister the other night, and she's a good person. She's a very good person. I've never known her to do anything wrong, except she would sneak out at night and drag my Thomas Dale, whatever jacket, varsity something jacket. I don't think it was sports, but she would drag it on the ground, and I'd get it back ruined. I remember getting upset about that, but I don't care now, of course. But she's always been a good person. But she, in the Catholic faith, there's this idea of purgatory. I don't know. I haven't studied, being Catholic, I haven't studied the Bible. Of course, she's read it. And there's this concept of purgatory. And that's her goal. She wants to get to purgatory. And I said, oh, come on. You're going to go to heaven. You're going to go to heaven. You're a good person. Yeah, but I made mistakes. I can't think of a single, I have no idea what she's talking about. But I said, yeah, but, and I don't know what I'm talking about with religion, as my father pointed out to me. But the last time, and I haven't done it very often, but the last time I went to confession, the priest said to me, this is like 3 weeks ago, I kept it short because I was admonished to do so by a different priest. But the priest said to me that your sins are forgiven. And that was the gift given to you at baptism. That's basically what he said, that your sins are forgiven. And so I tried to explain that to my sister. I said, you don't have to live this life. She goes to confession and she makes a list. I can only imagine how long it takes. I said, you've confessed, you've asked forgiveness. I think you have to have faith in the I mean, to Catholics, it's the sacraments, but basically in the message that we've been given. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you is I've been thinking about it ever since, because maybe I'm too cavalier. She's very smart, and she will be able to quote everywhere, every reference. But my point is, I'm not sure that Jesus is smiling at me. It'd be nice if he were. Um, it would be nice if I'm doing a good thing here. I really mean that, Maddie. It would be nice if what I'm doing here is selfless and it's looking after you rather than looking after me. And that would mean a lot to me. But it's hard to know, as my sister pointed out to me. Um, we're we're all imperfect. But Maddie, my goal is to try to tell, even when it's harsh, to make it clear where I stand and where I think you should stand. And I know there's room if I didn't have the confidence, and if I hadn't done due diligence on Railtown for 2.5 months on this live, I've done it live. Um, there would be room to try to confuse you into thinking that Railtown's just like, as Tony De Niro said, is just like Nixie. I'm like, what? I mean, that really does show that that guy either smoked his brain away or he was just born with a sunlight shining through parts of his brain. Um, Critical thinking got missed in that guy, unless his whole goal is to create fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's what I am trying to fight here. And I do it perhaps unpleasantly sometimes. I did listen to Clay earlier today, and uh, ocean sailing, of course, tells me to calm down. But yeah, Maddie, thank you. It would be nice if I did something in my life that made Jesus smile. That'd be very nice. But until then, all I can do is try to do um, the right thing. That's all I can do is try. Uh, and I think that's what I'm doing here with Railtown. We'll find out. Um, I'm trying to give you, Maddie, every bit of experience, every bit of knowledge and judgment I have. It doesn't mean, unfortunately, it doesn't mean that I'm going to be exactly right. I do think, in a broad sense, in a broadest of senses, I'm going to be correct. Um, I sometimes wake up at night, and I like 2 days ago, or was it yesterday? That guy came on here and offered to buy my shares as if he wanted to make it seem like I was in some sort of collusion with the shorts, but he wanted to pay 75 cents, if I recall correctly. They did that to me either on GTII or Finger, one or the other. And I I would say it was just a few weeks later that they got those Cosmo boys to come over and do their destruction. And I I often think back on it. They kind of knew what was coming. So anyway, sometimes at night I wake up and I think, am I missing something here? Do the shorts really have a methodology to win here? And the only thing I could think of is if they go on the NASDAQ. It's the only thing I could think of. I do not believe. Now, Canaccord's a weakness. Canaccord works for the shorts. There's no question about it. But it's not the entire firm. It's just some people in the firm, and everyone else looks the other way. To offset that, John Ruffalo, Dr. Tom Core, Mike or Mark Nobrega on the AI partnership side, and then Corey Brandolini particularly, but there's Marwan as well and some others. Their experience is so broad and specific over 3 decades that I don't think they're going to do a toxic deal, even if Canaccord offered it. So I think that risk is pretty low. So that's one risk, is they do a toxic deal. I don't think they're going to need to. And the further buttressing my point on that, Maddie, is at least, well, I think on both sides, AIP and on Railtown, these guys are not paying themselves a ton of money. They're not awarding themselves big slugs of stock or anything. I'm not saying they won't do that at some point. Their reward comes because they own a big percentage of the company. They own the same stock we own. So Corey's reward, Dr. Tom Core's reward, John Ruffalo's reward, if the deal gets done, Marwan Haddad's reward, et cetera, comes from ownership of the exact same shares we own. So I don't think they're going to do anything to create a toxic note or a toxic warrant or a toxic formula of any kind. So I think the shorts are out of luck there. Anyway, the other risk I see, Maddie, is they, like all CEOs, decide to go on to Adina Friedman's slaughterhouse. It's just a gilded uptown slaughterhouse. It's not at the stockyards. They have soundproofing. They have, aluminum and steel and hoses and ways of flushing the offal and the blood and all the detritus of the killing, getting it out of the building so they can live in an upscale area. But NASDAQ's just as damaging to shareholders and CEOs and market caps. NASDAQ is identically damaging as the over-the-counter market, and it's enhanced with derivatives and options. And I believe the company Railtown, and I've written a note to this effect. I don't know if they're going to listen to me, but I believe Railtown's going to skip NASDAQ and go directly to the New York Stock Exchange, which probably is no better. Because remember, it's American stock markets that are being destroyed by a handful of men who concentrate the banking and assets and then corrupt the rules and then pay off these bird dogs, and they take the profits tax-free, and they want the giant U.S. economic engine to fund trillions of dollars of wars, and they don't pay taxes. It's a swell situation. But the advantage New York Stock Exchange has, like an Elon Musk, even though he might be on NASDAQ, but a Tesla stock, I'm sure, gets counterfeited and shorted and the rules get broken. And nobody enforces those rules against the criminals, because the criminals are the banking system. They are the hedge funds. They are the big retirement funds. That's who the criminals are. You don't want to look too closely, but that's who they are. And it's Goldman Sachs. But retail and Wall Street doesn't have this anymore. When you go into your brokerage house now, you might as well be going to an insurance salesman or a real estate salesman. She's going to look pretty, be nice, be really talented at people pleasing, and she'll just put your money into an ETF and into a managed account. She doesn't know anything else. And in fact, she's discouraged from knowing anything else. So the trading and the research and the risk are, it's all out of these companies. It's all over in the hedge funds. It's over at SAC. It's over at Citadel, and it's over at other funds. So those funds, those retirement funds, those investment funds, those ETFs, they own Tesla. And when Tesla's getting shorted, there's a counterweight of research and data and analysts and trading desks and long positions and reinvested dollars that come in that counteract the shorts. So I think the New York Stock Exchange is a better place to be. Maybe Tesla's on the, I can't remember if it's on the over-the-counter or not. But when you're big enough and institutions particularly own your shares, they are the counterbalance to the criminality, not the regulators, not Congress, not attorneys. They're all part of the corruption. Doesn't paint a very good picture, does it? Congratulations, account settings, Donna says. Donna bought 10 more. I'd love it, Donna. I'll put it in my number. It's going to make all the difference. It's going to make all the difference. You never know. Those 10 shares might be the one that brings us over, what, 11,350,000. You never know. That's great that you did that. Slowtronic, rail to $4 or $5. I think that's Slowtronic. I know it's not going to really make intuitive sense, but I think you're right. I think the stock is going to go, once it gets out of this limbo, I think there can be a case made, and I've made that case, that the stock should be $7.50 now, give or take $2.50. So that would be a wide range, $5 to $10. But if I had to pick a target right now, I'd pick $7.50. Now I've said to you all the way up from $3.50, from 30 cents, 35 cents, 40 cents, 50 cents, even when it was 69 cents. I've told you every single time that I think the stock will 10x when it starts to trade out of this limbo period. 10x. Now the question is, how quickly does it 10x? It could be very rapid. It could be very rapid. But I think it'll be a stutter step. I think it'll go through, once it breaks sort of 70, 75 cents, I think it'll be $1.25, $1.50 before you can say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. But then it might, it might 150, 225, might take a few days, might take a couple of weeks. Why? Because a lot of the big buyers may not be able to buy a stock under $3, under $5. All of retail, who's represented by registered reps, Series 7 guys and girls, they won't be able to recommend the stock under $5. So there could be a stutter step on the way to $5. However, I will tell you, Slowtronic, I do not expect Railtown to have sharp declines. It could in that $1 to $5 range. It could. And that's why I go so aggressively against these people that give you ideas to turn this investment into hot gambling money again. I don't want you thinking that way. But anyway, to get to my point, once the stock hits $5 or $5.50, I mean, it might be a higher number. But once it hits some number in that range, the stock could, within 48 hours, it could be $15 because institutions are buying it. And there's a lot of institutions out there that would rather pay $15 a share than 50 cents a share because it's in their bylaws, and because when they're paying $15 a share, they have a research report that covers their rear end, and the company has verifiable revenue projections, and there's comps out there for the trade. So you might be surprised, Slowtronic, that once it gets to that number, it could then move very rapidly. Account settings says lots of love to Donna, and sings the song, "Oh Donna." I forget the song. Was it the Little Bopper who sang it? Or let me see if I can show you anything I brought to show you. It's not very much, I don't think. I just think it's 9 things. All right. They're going to say, you have a lot of files. You sure have a lot of files, they'll say. And I won't be able to show it all to you. No, let me show you everything. I don't know if I'm going to, if all of this was meant to show you. It won't take very long. I did some charts quickly. What's this one? Oh, this is Railtown in Canada. No. That's not what this is. This is, I don't know why it's chopped off, but this is Energy Vault. And much to my surprise, it's not a horrible looking chart. I mean, it's speculative. A few days ago, I thought it was horrible because it looked like it would go back down, just like it did previously here. But this is a pennant formation, and it looks like it's broken out to the upside. This is the Energy Vault. And then the moving averages are moving in the correct direction. So I hate to say it, I don't want you buying the stock, but I don't know why this is chopped off here. But this $2, there's a lot of noise over here on the chart and even a gap. I think the stock is going to have a hard time getting through $2. But for me, looking at this chart, I think it's going to $2. Which surprised me that I would say that. All right, this one is Mountain. And let's see where Mountain closed. Ming 10. It closed at 1180. So to me, that doesn't do anything. I just in broad stroke, I see a support line, but I have to admit to you, I just did that with my finger. I'm not sure that support line is very strong, and it might not be drawn very accurately. But it's possible that M10 is on a support. It's possible. And then it'll bounce back up. But I don't think it bounces very high. It's going to be difficult to get through the cluster there of moving averages and trading. I actually think this stock, do you see that horizontal line, the yellow line horizontally, where there's a gap down there? I think the stock has risk to $6.50, $77. So who knows? You know, I don't claim to be the genius stock chart guy, but I think M10, when I look at it, could lose, I don't know if it's half the money, but could lose 40% of your money very quickly. Could I be wrong? Of course I could be wrong. What's this one? Oh, that's Soundhound. I want to talk about that last. What's this one? Railtown. Okay, this is the Canadian Railtown. Canadian Railtown, again, it's broad strokes. When I draw those lines broadly, it looks like the stock is contained in this flag formation, pennant maybe, and it hasn't broken out yet. However, when I look at that closely, I think in Canada, Railtown has broken out to the upside, if ever so slightly. So I take this chart as a very positive chart, and I think Railtown's about to dramatically move higher in price when it breaks out to the upside. That's how I see it. Now, this yellow horizontal line, I didn't draw it, but if you go to the left over here, there's a lot of support to argue that that is support. So I think Railtown looks really nice to me on the charts. And of course, I'm a little bit biased, but I try not to bring that in there. What's this one? Okay, this is, see that, just to show it to you, that's Railtown that I get on my chart system. One trade went off at a penny. And so if I go back beyond 7 months, I get this useless chart. But here should be Railtown. Yeah, this is for 7 months in the United States. And I see a similar pattern here. I think it's on support when it trades down a little bit. And I do think this chart shows that Railtown has broken out of the pennant. However, I admit that my drawing is really fat finger, and maybe I'm just being optimistic. But this formation, by definition, can't go on much longer. It's going to break out. either to the downside or the upside. And I think it's going to be to the upside. In fact, I think right here, it's already broken out. That's my read on it. Now I want to show you SoundHound. This is SoundHound, which up top, if you look at it, has a market cap. I highlighted it at $6.5 billion. And if you look at the left-hand side over here of this chart, SoundHound went from a very low price for a long, long time. It's like a lot of the charts I've shown you. And then it went nearly vertical up to a high, I think, of $25 a share. But look how rapidly that went up. And of course, it came back down. And there's a gap where I drew that long yellow horizontal right here. There's a gap over in the middle. But interestingly, SoundHound has been bouncing around support. And then with the other day's earnings, it bounced up. And of course, it stopped where that gap is and where that resistance is. I think it's going to continue through that number and maybe get back up to the highs. But the reason I'm showing you SoundHound is I want you to think about it in terms of Railtown. I just put one article up. There's a lot of articles out that you can go Google. Top analysts upgrade SoundHound stock to buy as Q2 results stir excitement. US-based voice AI, US-based voice AI company, SoundHound, stock earned another upgrade to buy this time, following its impressive Q2 results. I'm not suggesting you buy SoundHound. I want you to compare it to Railtown. Okay, SoundHound has drawn strong Wall Street attention following its Q2 earnings release last week. This week, 5-star rated analyst Glenn G. Mattson at Ladenburg Thalmann, I think it's Ladenburg Thalmann, upgraded the stock from hold to buy. See here? Since the results, Q2 results, SoundHound shares have surged 50%. The other day, somebody asked me, I think it's I Am Legend, have you ever seen a stock perform that way? Well, here, just in a short period of time, up 50%. And then down here, for context, SoundHound recorded Q2 revenue, second quarter revenue of $40 million, and raised its full year outlook to $160 million, $180 million, call it $160 million. The company saw steady revenue growth and secured major deals in the automotive segment. 160, 180 million. It now has agreements with over a huge number of restaurants and blah, blah, 20 train chains, blah, blah, blah. Mattson explained that SoundHound's business model benefits from large upfront components in its deal, which sounds a lot like Railtown, because Railtown is the component. So in other words, you sell the component for a big price, and then you collect something, I assume, on the license. He highlighted that the company's presence in the automotive sector is expanding. You know, you can talk to it. According to Mattson, this product not only boosts user engagement, but also reinforces SoundHound's position as a technology leader. That's Railtown. They're a technology leader. They are the leader in an increasingly competitive market. management estimates that the in-car commerce opportunity for automakers could reach 35 billion annually. 35 billion. So what are the two data points we have there? We have an addressable market of 35 billion. We have rapid growth, but we have an estimate of annualized revenue right now at 100 to 100, let's call it 180 million. Those are two numbers we have on SoundHound. Which one of these examples? None of them. None of these use 160 million. So let's create one. Let's create one best we can. Let's assume Railtown's addressable market is 35 billion. Again, I'm making an assumption. But remember, some of their markets are 135 billion, 300 billion. Let's just assume the market is 35 billion. I'm going to see what that is at 3%. Okay, it's lower than this. Let's just go on the SoundHound number and use the ARR of 160 million plus. This is the SoundHound model. This is SoundHound based on Q2. Let's see where SoundHound is trading. It's at 16.54, but their market cap is $6.74 billion. So SoundHound's market cap is $6,743,000,000. So the question is, can Railtown get to this kind of annual revenue? 160 million. Well, 3% penetration of 35 billion is about 100 million. It's a little over 100 million. It's not 160. But what if Railtown is going after the 300 billion market, or on their website, the $132 billion market, and they get 3%? I think this is entirely achievable for Railtown. That's SoundHound. 6.7 billion, and SoundHound specific to one industry. It's a good industry, talking while you're driving. But Railtown is supra. It's over all of these. Anyway, let's see what that does to Railtown's value at 170 million shares. $39.66. It's a $40 stock. If if Railtown's market is similar, like 35 billion, and we'll learn that as we go. And remember, they've got to combine 160 companies. Anyway, 35 billion. And if they achieve 160 million plus in annual revenue, recurring revenue, and if they replicate SoundHound's multiple that's in the stock market now at almost 7 billion as their market cap, the stock is a $40 stock for Railtown. So SoundHound, I think, is a comparable. I've given you examples where Railtown could do 300 million, 500 million in revenue. So I think it's totally possible that they do 160, 170 million. Then it's a $40 stock. This, I'm telling you, I don't know how it came about. I think I do. But this is a very exciting investment. And it is an investment as opposed to one of these hot hand gambles. Gambles sometimes work, but it doesn't mean they're not a gamble. All right, so I think we've come to the end of comments. Let's just see if we're at war. Uh-oh. Let's see what it says. While all eyes were on rates and stocks after the PPI, the biggest movers on the day were in alternate asset classes as the dollar soared. All right, so that's going to mean gold went down temporarily, I'm sure. Yep, gold was dumped back below its 50-day moving average. Seems to be going sideways. And after reaching new record highs last night, crypto was clubbed like a baby seal. I hate that analogy. US equities flat. Although small caps ended lower on the day, there was another big U-turn starting around lunchtime, thanks to another giant short squeeze that seemed to strike as most shorted stocks went on the red yesterday. US is taking a stake in Intel. I told you Intel's an attractive gamble. I remember telling you that. But I also said, I think NVIDIA, on the other hand, has kept going up. I think I suggested it as an alternative. Or I think I said sell 10% of NVIDIA, buy Intel. So you would have still had 90% of NVIDIA, but you would have purchased Intel at, I don't know, 18 or something. Maybe 20, I don't remember. Pentagon oil rebounded to 63. Yeah, okay. Retail roars. Intel soars on report U.S. government to buy a stake. I knew it. I just didn't have the money to trade it. That was just a glaring buy. Goldman's trading floor is buying today's dip with both hands. Egg supply is normalized. We have that going for us. U.S. household debt rose by $185 billion last quarter. That's a lot of money. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York released a troubling quarterly statement as the total household debt in the United States increased by $185 billion in the last 3 months, up 1% from last quarter, when total household debt reached $18.9 trillion. Total household debt in the United States now stands at $18.39 trillion. Housing debt increased, now standing at $149 billion. Mortgage balances increased by $131 billion. HELOC balances grew by $9 billion to $411 billion. Non-housing debt rose by $45 billion, with credit card debt rising $27 billion to $1.21 trillion. That's something we have to focus on, paying down our credit cards and not using them. Auto loans rose by $13 billion to $1.66 trillion. Oh my gosh. Student loans stand at $1.64 trillion. So student loans, auto loans, and non-housing debt and credit card debt add up to 1, 2, 3, 4. It's like $4.5 trillion. Whew. Adults aged 40 to 49 hold 4.81 trillion of the total outstanding debt. Delinquency rates rose to 4.4%. The United States, the government has destroyed the purchasing power of the United States dollar through endless deficits and inflationary policies. That's gold, silver. The United States is not heading toward a recession. Rather, we are in a period of stagflation, with inflation outpacing GDP growth, primarily attributable to rising costs and war. I said it once, this is Martin Armstrong, and I'll say it again. Our computer is demonstrating that volatility in unemployment will rise from 2026, peaking first in 2028, with a panic cycle in 2029. This also confirms our war cycles for 2026. What we must come to grips with is that there is far more to understanding the economy than just picking one single statistic. Ruh-roh. Ruh-roh. 2026 might be war. Trump announces massive Social Security cleanup. 275,000 illegal aliens removed, plus 12.4 million dead people over 120 years old wiped from the database. Mainstream media is forced to report that Ukrainian forces face dire lack of manpower as millions of citizens will not fight for the Kiev regime. National Guard ramps up DC presence. President Trump will depart the White House early Friday morning for a trip to Alaska, where he will meet Russian President Vladimir Putin for a high-stakes summit centered on ending the war in Ukraine. Trump is expected in Anchorage mid-afternoon Eastern Time. The initial meeting with Putin is expected to take place at 3:30 p.m. with just the two leaders and translators. Trump and Putin will have lunch following the meeting with members of delegations from both countries. The Russian delegation will include Ushakov, Putin, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, Defense Minister Andrei Belousov, Finance Minister Anton Siluanov, and Putin's long-term friend and investment envoy Kirill Dmitriev. The two leaders then plan to hold a joint press conference following their meeting, White House and Kremlin officials said Thursday morning. The Russian state news agency TASS reported Trump and Putin would hold a press conference together at the conclusion of the meeting. This will mark the first time Putin has visited the United States since Hillary lost an election. No, it doesn't say that. Since 2015. The last time Trump and Putin met in person was in Helsinki, Finland, in 2018 for a summit during Trump's first term. That meeting and the press conference afterward was met with huge controversy in the United States when Trump appeared to side with Putin and against the United States intelligence community in accepting Putin's denial of involvement in the 2016 election. Putin told a group of advisors he believes the Trump administration is making, quote, energetic and sincere efforts to stop the fighting, stop the crisis, and reach agreements that are in the interest of all parties involved in the conflict. Trump told Brian Kilmeade that there is a 25% chance this meeting will not be successful. This meeting sets up a second meeting, Trump said, but there is a 25% chance this meeting will not be successful. In which case, I'll just run the country. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will not be at the summit, Trump has confirmed. All right, that'll be my end today. Pisa rules. The leaning Pisa rules. I went all day without looking at Railtown. All right. Feels good to be confident in your holdings. The Pisa rules. I'm your due diligence. Well, everything I've said, I've tried to back up by showing you where I got it from. Even the stuff we kind of guesstimate, I try to show you where I got it from. Mr. Tang Wu, I just caught up. No one is paying me to pump radar. Take that back. Sure. I'm a MTLP, GTI, and finger holder. All right. Maybe no one's paying you. I'm not sure I came right out and said someone is paying you, but maybe I did. I'll take that back. I think RDAR is a seller box stock. I think it's insanity to buy that stock, Mr. Wu. And if you want to be in another MMTLP, GTII, that you found it. That's my first opinion of it. But I will take that back, that you're not a short seller and you're not being paid. I just think it shows massively poor judgment to get into RDAR. Of course, my attitude, Mr. Wu, is all these stocks that were being presented, they're all crap. We're being shown them. These guys come to us. What's their screening process? What's their experience in screening companies? Have they ever raised money for companies? Have they ever been through it? I don't know. But anyway, I take it back, Mr. Wu, and I apologize. Why can't the pesky smart Americans just accept that Greater Israel is the secret to the golden age? Is it? It's in the Bible. I don't know. I don't know what to say that, Maddie. I don't see how taking over Jordan, a big chunk of Saudi Arabia, a massive part of Egypt, all of Lebanon, big swath, if not all of Syria, and part of Iraq. I don't think it goes into Iran. It might. But I don't see how that leads to a golden age. I think that'll probably lead to World War III. But who knows? America first. Well, yeah, I mean, we don't want to destroy the rest of the world, but yeah, that's what I think Trump's trying to do. I think Putin puts Russia first. Prince Mohammed puts Saudi Arabia first. Um, you know, it's normal. It's normal. Ah, I just read Google AI has the potential of being the leader. They just bought the 8% in Wolf stock. I hope Railtown gets connected with Google AI. Could be. Don't know. I don't think it's going to be Google, but it could be. It could be Google. You know, I think I showed you that picture. I don't know if I still have it here. Yeah, here's one. These are your buyers, I think. NVIDIA, Meta, and Alphabet, which I assume is Google. Alphabet is. Meta, I guess, is Facebook. And then you got Microsoft. You got Apple. You got Amazon there. I think those are your buyers. But we're not there yet. Totally useless. Totally useless. Totally useless. The stock trades for, it's seller boxed. And the ticker change isn't going to do anything. Totally useless. They want it all. Yeah, I think that's right. All right, I'm going to sign off. It's 5:33. I think today was a good day. We'll see what tomorrow brings. Just to finish it off, we're at 11,282,000 shares, uh, 8.1%, which is just amazing. So I wish each of you peace. I wish for peace in the world. And I pray that all children in the world get to live their childhood without being assaulted, harmed, or having their joy stolen from them. And I wish you a good night.